We want to talk a little bit about Twitter strategies right now. And I'm actually going to change this up immediately. And we're going to do something that a lot of people don't agree with, and maybe some of you don't agree with this either, but I really hate the word strategies when it comes to things like Twitter. I don't believe that there is such a thing as a Twitter strategy. I think you have a business strategy and you have a communications strategy. A while ago, Thomas convinced me that there was such a thing as a content strategy. And I think overall you can have a social media strategy. But when I look at something like Twitter, I really don't see it as something that you need to develop a strategy. I really think what we're talking about here are tactics. This is the blocking and tackling day-to-day stuff that you need to do to communicate and engage with consumers and customers and franchisees and potential franchisees and any other audience. I always go back to this and say, well, what's your strategy for the telephone, right? Well, I'm going to pick up the telephone, and then I'm going to pick up the handset, and if it has a button on it, I'm going to push it, or if it doesn't, I'm going to say, Sarah, get me Thelma Lou over at the diner, right? I mean, that's what we're talking about, is really tactics. How do you use the phone? How do you say hello? How do you connect with the person that you're trying to reach? So I really want to kind of take this down a notch and not talk about Twitter strategies as much as Twitter tactics. I'm hoping that some of you will walk away with a few things that you can use as of Monday morning when we all get back to work. So we're going to start with talking a little bit about monitoring versus engaging, specifically on Twitter, and the differences between those two things. We'll talk very briefly about using your business and relationship building skills in Twitter, which can also convert to other social media channels. I really want to focus, though, and hopefully walk away with something that everyone can use when it comes to best practices, and talk about 10 best tactics on Twitter for your business. We'll focus some of those best tactics. We'll do a little bit of a deeper dive on negative comments. That was something that came up this morning. Came up a lot in some discussions last night after the big tweet up. We were talking about dealing with negative comments and responding to negative comments. So I thought it might make sense to go into a little bit of a deeper dive here. And then the final thing we'll do is measure, and simply because at any social media conference, the last thing on any slide should say measure, right? Any place I've ever been, what's the last thing we do on the agenda? Well, we got to talk about measurement. So I just put measurement on it. So one thing we all learned back in 1978 was that life is just a cocktail party on the street. Right? For those of you who don't remember 1978, that's a guy named Keith and a guy named Mick, and they're on the streets of New York, and it's just a cocktail party.
Police dressed in plastic bags, directing traffic.
Should do be.
Yes.
2011, Twitter is just a cocktail party on the web. Cocktails optional for some of us. But think about it. Life is just a cocktail party. Twitter is just a cocktail party. Cocktails optional. So when we're monitoring Twitter or other social media platforms, all we're doing is lurking at a cocktail party. We walk into the cocktail party and kind of walk around, we stand up against the wall, and we watch what Paul's doing, right? We watch what Deb's doing over there. We don't want to talk to anybody. We don't want to introduce ourselves. We don't want to say hi. We just want to see what they're doing, you know. And then when we report, we measure, right? That means we go home and we write about what happened at the cocktail party in the diary. We never talked to anybody. We never made any friends. We didn't influence anyone. But we're monitoring, right? And people are doing that on Twitter right now. They're monitoring what people are saying about their brand, and then they go away, and they don't engage with the customers or the potential customers. Engagement is really about interacting with people at that cocktail party. So when we see someone talking about our brand, lifestyle things, or maybe even something way outside of the brand on Twitter, that's where we should be engaging with those consumers and customers and potential customers and all of those other folks. This is something that I borrowed from John Hayden. You're going to see a lot of stuff I borrowed from a lot of people, some of whom are in this room. But I really love this. This is specifically for business people, and I think it really applies to franchisees, and maybe some people within the franchise system, and maybe even some of the agency folks that are here. But for those who are jumping into Twitter and they're not really sure how to engage, we say that you already know enough to be engaging on Twitter. You know how to make friends. You wouldn't be in business if you didn't know how to make friends, or you wouldn't last very long, I guess. In real life, and not on Twitter, you know how to say thank you. You know how to be genuine with people. You know how to identify someone who needs help, right? Someone walks into your store, or someone walks into your learning center, and they need help with something. You know how to approach them and answer their questions and help them out. Same thing on Twitter. You know how to admit when you're wrong. How many people here have ever had to apologize on Twitter or say that they were sorry for a customer experience? Anybody? Okay, great. You didn't learn how to do that specifically on Twitter. You know, you didn't have to go to school to learn how to apologize on Twitter. You knew how to do that in real life. So it's just converting that to Twitter. You know how to have fun, obviously, if you're a business owner or a business manager. You know how to have fun, or you wouldn't have gotten very far. All of these things add up to your own life experiences that we're just going to convert to the Twitter world. And the only thing that Twitter adds to all of this is a big fat volume knob. So we're going to turn everything up to 11 and go on Twitter, right? I want to jump in now to what I teach a lot of our clients and their franchisees as the 10 best tactics for Twitter. Again, these are not strategic. These are blocking and tackling 10 things I recommend everyone do to better engage on Twitter. The first one is to say hi. A lot of people forget that one, right? So, hi Thomas, hi BJ, good morning Paul, how was your weekend? Or, you know, good to see you, hope to see you next week, right? Mm-hmm. That's something really easy to do, and you will be amazed at the response you get. I know Deb does this all the time. I see her doing it.
But Deb tends to say hi Twitter, hi Google+, hi Facebook.
Yeah.
I have to hit all my friends.
Right. And when she does it on Twitter, she puts a hashtag in front of it. So saying hello lets people know that you're there. I have a friend named Chuck who constantly tweets people just with their name and an exclamation point, like he's just shouting at you. It's Jack! And I know exactly, I'm like, hey, Chuck! You know? And it keeps you top of mind with people, right? Mm-hmm. How often do we say, you know, everybody walks around the world and they don't say hello anymore? And, you know, this is a great way to do it. Number two, and this is nothing new, it's very much what Thomas was talking about when we were looking at the blogging information. Ask a question. Don't just go on Twitter and prove how smart you are. Ask how smart everyone else is. You know, what are you doing this weekend? Who do you think's going to win the Bears game next week? There you go. Thank you. I knew that was a smart guy. Ask a question not necessarily about your brand. You don't want to go on every morning and say, so what do you like best about Computer Explorers today? That'd get a little old, right? So ask about your customers and potential customers and their lives and what's going on in their lives. What are you doing for Thanksgiving this year? Are you having turkey or lasagna? I don't know. Ask questions. Number 3 is respond to all questions. All questions? Really? I have to respond? Yes, every question. Now, if somebody's just being, obscene or, hateful or something like that, there may be some other ways to respond. But if someone has a question about your company or a location of your franchise system or your brand, and they ask you the question and you don't respond, it's the same thing as if they would call you on the telephone and leave you a message, and you just decide, I'm not going to call them back. I don't care. They don't matter to me. So it's even worse than that, actually, because if somebody leaves you a phone message that you don't respond to, who knows about it? That one person, right? When someone asks a question of a brand on Twitter and you don't respond, who knows about it? The entire universe knows about it. So respond to all questions. I would recommend in an hour, if you can. That would be impressive to me if I saw a brand respond to everything within an hour. I don't think it has to be within an hour, but I think that would be really impressive if I saw that. Number 4, this is a big one for me. Follow everyone who follows your brand. Everyone? Everyone. You're not sure who those people are? I don't care. They followed your brand. Follow them back. Quick story about a hotel chain that I won't name who it was, but I stay there many nights a year. Last January, I was up in Connecticut when we got hit with a blizzard, and I had to stay in this hotel for a few extra days unexpectedly, and the snow was piling up high. We couldn't even leave the hotel. It was 2 days before we could order a pizza. We were just stuck in this hotel. So we had some other folks from my office in Chicago were there, staying at the same hotel, and one of our people from New York City was staying in the same hotel, and one of our people from London was staying in this hotel. So we just sort of took over the lobby of this hotel and made it our office for a few days, and a few other business travelers did as well. So I started tweeting what was going on at this hotel. We were all trapped, right? And I started tweeting that it's starting to look like the hotel from The Shining in here, and we're starting to go a little crazy from being trapped in here from the snow. And a couple of hours later, the hotel brand, whoever the community manager was, tweeted me back and said, "All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy." And I was like, oh, awesome, great community manager for this brand. This person obviously knows The Shining, took the time to see that my name was Jack, and I was like, oh, that's fun. Plus I was sitting in a hotel doing nothing, so let's have some fun with this. So I started tweeting this brand back, saying things like, "Here's Johnny," right? And the person would tweet me back with another line from The Shining, and it was really cool. I mean, this brand was really engaging me, right? And then so we had fun with that all day, and then guess what happened? The brand did not follow me back, and I thought, wow, that's kind of disappointing, right? I stay at this hotel's brand, or what this brand's hotel locations probably 40 nights out of the year. I have points in their loyalty program and all that kind of stuff. And after all of this exchange with this community manager, they didn't follow me back. So big fail for that brand, right? So anyway, always follow everyone back who's following your brand. I'm doing it again with the eating this thing at the screen, but that's all right. It makes me feel better. Another tactic, retweet a handful of interesting tweets every day. Part B of this is you don't have to retweet Chris Brogan every day.
Yeah.
You don't have to retweet Guy Kawasaki every day. I guarantee everybody's already seen that one. That's, great, we got it. So don't just look at, the social media superstars. Look at your own friends and people you actually know, maybe your business associates, and look at what they're talking about or articles that they're sharing and retweet one of those. It doesn't have to be, a social media author or someone from the Jersey Shore or something like that. Find a real person who maybe is influential in your industry. I think we all have a great opportunity within the franchising space, right? We can retweet what other franchise folks are talking about, because even though it isn't really a direct competitor of what your brand is doing, it might be a similarly structured franchise system. So it might be relevant to the people that you're sharing it with. And that's more important than anything, finding something that's relevant for other people. So, find 2 or 3 every day, retweet them. And then number 6, this is a big one, do not send automatic direct messages. So when people follow you, they get the automatic DM from you. I can't stress this enough. I got one this morning from a guy I started following this morning, and it was an auto DM that said something about, since you like to retweet what I say, why not join my Facebook or something like that, right? And I was like,
Fail.
what? I've never retweeted you before. I don't,
Just following.
you're just someone who I follow. And so don't use automatic direct messages at all, whatsoever. They mean nothing anymore. All it is spam. People see the stuff coming in, and it's another thing to make someone roll their eyes and not want to follow you. And I would say use real direct messages very sparingly anymore. I went through a point, maybe a year ago or so, where I was using a lot of direct messages instead of email, because it just seemed like, really quick, and we could ping each other and, trade a phone number or something really quick to connect or meet somewhere, or, especially when we're at a conference like this. I don't use those as much anymore. I'm not getting the response rates from people as I used to, unless it's somebody I know really, really well. And the reason is because of the automatic direct messages, right? I talk to people who don't even look at direct messages. They get them coming in all day long, and 99% of them are spam. So that 1% that is actually from someone that you maybe have dinner plans with or something, you ignore it, because it's in this pile of junk with all of the auto direct messages. So I would use those sparingly. Don't count on them like you used to, and don't do the automatic ones whatsoever. Number 7 gets into something that may be a little bit more strategic than tactical. This is engaging with people outside of the brand. Too often I see brands that are only interested in talking with people who are talking about them, right? You don't want to only respond or say hello or ask a question of someone who's already talking about your brand. That's pretty boring. No one wants to hear from you only about your brand and what you have going on. So engage with people about lifestyle stuff. I talked earlier about who's going to win the game, or what are you doing on Thanksgiving weekend. Look at brands like Stroller Strides. wow, what a huge universe that they can talk about. You know, all of this stuff with kids. Same with Computer Explorers and so many of the other brands that are here. You don't have to talk about stroller strides. You can talk about what's going on with kids, or this education issue, or healthy lifestyle issues. Looking at some of the stuff that BJ and the Tasty folks have been doing, that it isn't about the Tasty brand, it's about healthy food choices. And you can even go beyond food and just talk about healthy lifestyle stuff. We were talking earlier about the Verlo mattress. Thomas, was there anybody from Verlo here?
There's a place.
Not yet? Okay. Verlo's been doing some pretty cool stuff over the past year or so. Not talking about mattresses, right? Talking about sleep and healthy lifestyle things that help you sleep better, and why it's important to sleep better, and that sort of thing. So talking with people about sleep and health and lifestyle stuff that really has nothing to do with Verlo is really the way to engage people and get people coming back. The big one is how much of this content should be about me and my brand and what we're doing, and the Thanksgiving Day promotion and the coupon and all of that kind of stuff, and how much should be about the consumers and the customers and what they're doing with their interests and lifestyle things. We talked earlier about an 80-20 rule, that it really should be 80% about them and maybe 20% about your brand. I'm going to get a little more conservative.